Today we are going to go over the 4-2 rotation for serve-receive. This is simply to demonstrate the basic 4-2 rotation. Here we are starting in rotation 1. Now you can put your players wherever you want. I'm going to have our setter start in position 2 and zone 2 right here. The important thing is you know where your opposite is. Setters are opposite of each other, outsides are opposite of each other, and middles are opposite of each other. I'm also going to be having the setter follow in the middle. Sometimes you will have the setter follow the outside, so these two will be switched. But in this, I'm going to have the setter follow the middle. Now, in some teams, you may have a libero replace the middle. When they get to the back, that's fine too. But I'm going to keep this as the middle of the entire time. And so here's what rotation 1 will look like for serve-receive and will get into place. So I'm going to step a little bit to the left because both of these players have to cross here. Some coaches like to have them step all the way to the left so that the outside is ready to go. That's fine. This is just demonstration. You can set this up however you want, but the middle is going to cross and get here to attack, and the outside is going to cross and get here. You are ready to attack, and the setter is gonna hang out right here, and ball is going to be served. The players move outside here, middle here, set it here, ready to go. Your hitters good, then we are going to get back to where we were, and we are going to rotate in the road. This is rotation. I mean a 4 rotation, you use the front row center only. So this person, the center one is not setting anymore, set or 2 is now the setter. So we are going to set that a little bit differently for rotation. So the setter needs to get all the way over here, the outsides need to get all the way over here, and because we are stacking in the middle, we want this middle one closest to the 10-foot line so that we will have at least one hitter ready because the outside has to go so far. We are going to have the middle right here next to the 10-foot line. Now, once again, some coaches may step over here all the way to the left, and then the setter are gonna have to run further, but this is for just demonstration purpose. You can set it out however you want. So the setters are gonna cross over here, the outside gonna go all the way to the outside, the middle is gonna hang out right here. So let's see what that looks like. There you go. See, the middle only had to take a couple steps, setter move over here, outside all the way over here, and then the hitter, we are gonna go back to where we were and rotate. Rotation 3 in a 4-2. There are only 3 rotations. So here we are, our setter to here, and our outsides over here, so the outside can hang out here. Our middle just needs to come in a little bit, so that's what it's going to look like. And you set up for server to server save on rotation 3. Now, if you want, you can pull the outside all the way back here. Sometimes they just happen to get in the way. So I'm just for demonstration purposes, keeping it right there. Your middle once again closest to the 10-foot line and get ready to attack. And then this is what the transition looks like, and outside are almost always in place. Now we are going to get back to where we were in our base, and we are going to rotate back to rotation 1. That's all for 3 rotations. Now the important thing to know is that your middle and our outside, especially when the ball is served, yes, they need to get to their spot, but they absolutely need to be watching the ball. Because if they are not watching the ball, that ball could go anywhere, and they are not ready for it, and so they need to be watching the ball. So when the middle is running this way, their back way, or may not be to the ball, if that ball is served over here, this middle running this way, that ball is probably gonna be behind the middle's hit, so the middle needs to be watching where that ball is going. Same thing for the outside. Let's say the ball is served over here to the middle, and the outside is running across the court. Their back is turned to the ball, so they need to be aware of where the ball is going. We will be discussing the 5-1 rotation for serve-receive in volleyball. On the right of the screen, you can see a key to help you identify what each player position is on the court. We will have one setter, one opposite, two outside hitter, two middle blockers, and a libero. In this rotation, the setter is in a right back with the outside hitter 1 in right front. The middle blocker 2 is in middle front. The opposite is in left front and the outside hitter 2 is in left back. And the libero is replace the middle blocker 1 in a back row is in the middle back position. When the setter goes back to serve, the players can get in better position to make the necessary switches. We want to put the outside hitter on the left side of the court. The middle block is in middle and the outside on the right side in the front row as soon as possible. In the back row, we want a libero to get to the left back, outside hitter to middle back, and a setter to right back as soon as they can as well. When the serve is contacted by the server and all players can switch to the needed positions. After the switches have made, the players need to move to what is called base position. Each team or coach may have different base position, but these are some basic ones here that we will use in this video. We have moved the players back to the regular rotation where they are located on the court. To make it more easier to show how set up for serve-receive, in all the rotation we will be using a 3-person serve-receive. This is that we could have 3 people that are responsible to pass the serve. We always utilize outside hitters, outside hitter 1 and outside hitter 2, and libero for serve-receive. In rotation 1, the setter, the right back players must stay behind the outside hitter 1, the right front player. Once the opponent contacts the serve, she is free to release setting position. After we hit the ball back over the net to the opponent's side, the player will need to switch to their defensive positions. Outside hitter 1 to the left front, middle blocker 2 to the middle front, and opposite to the right front of the court. And the back row, the setter play right back, the outside hitter 2 play middle back, and the libero will play the left back. The coach might want to have libero play middle back and outside hitter play left back, but in this video we will have a libero play left back and outside hitter play middle back on defense. After we have sighted out, it's our turn to serve. We would rotate positions. This would put this into the rotation 2 or second server. The outside hitter 1 rotate back to serve, and after they serve, the player move to defensive positions. After the opponent side out and it is their turn to serve, we would go to our regular and then set out to serve-receive. This is the serve-receive for rotation 2. You have to keep in mind you are overlaps, so you are in a proper rotation and not out of position. After all the opponents serve, the players, both front row and back row, will need to make switches to their correct positions. After we have sided out and it's our turn to serve, we will rotate positions. This will put us into rotation 3 or third server. When the middle blocker 2 rotate back to serve, we are gonna let the libero serve instead for the middle blocker 2. The libero can serve in any one player, but usually they serve for middle blocker. After libero serve, the player move to their defensive positions. As the opponent side out and it's their turn to serve, we'll go to regular rotation and set up for serve-receive. This is the serve-receive for rotation 3. You have to keep in mind of your overlaps, so you are in the proper rotations and not out of position. After the opponent serve, the players, both front row and back row, will need to make the switches to the correct positions. After we have sighted out, it's our turn to serve. We will rotate positions. This will put us in the rotation 4 or 4 server. The opposite rotate back to the serve After the opposite serve, the players move on to the defensive positions. After the opponent's side out, it's their turn to serve. We move on to regular rotation and set up for serve-receive. This is the serve-receive for rotation 4. You have to keep in mind there will be overlaps, so you are in proper rotations and not out of position. After the opponent serve, the players both front row and back row will need to make the switches necessary to their correct defensive positions. After we have sided out and it's our turn to serve, we will rotate positions. This will put us into rotation 5 or 5th server. The outside hitter 2 rotates back to the serve. After the outside hitter 2 serve, the player moves to their defensive positions. After the opponent sides out and it's their turn to serve, we would go to the regular rotation and then set up for serve-receive. This is a serve-receive for rotation 5. You have to keep in mind of your overlaps, so you are in a proper rotation and not out of positions. After the opponent serve, the players both front row and back row will need to make the switches to their correct defensive positions. After we have sides out and it's our turn to serve, we would rotate positions. This will put us in the rotation 6 or 6th server. The middle blocker 1 rotates back to serve. After the middle blocker 1 serve, the players move to the defensive positions. Middle blocker 1 will play left back, where the libero usually plays. After the opponent sides out and it's their turn to serve, we will go to regular position, and the libero will switch with the middle blocker 1 and we will set up to serve-receive. This is the serve-receive for rotation 6. You have to keep in mind of your overlaps, so you are in the proper rotations and not out of positions. After the opponent serve, the players both front row and back row will need to make the switches to the proper positions. After we have sided out and it's our turn to serve, we'll rotate positions. This will put it back to rotation 1 or the first server, and we'll repeat this rotation until the end of the match.